Okay.
Call to order the meeting of Schoharie County Industrial Development Agency. First item on the agenda is review and approve of November 14th, 2022 minutes.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. SCIDA committee meetings, nothing is available on that?
No.
All right. And next item on the agenda is old business. The land sales, property sales, we'll hold for executive session and move that to other. If I hear no objection to that. The next item on the agenda is the SCIDA administration and hiring of CEO. Ron, what do you have on there?
Well, currently I've asked Joe Scott to prepare a resolution, and he did. So I'd like to pass that out. I guess I think that's
I can share with Peter. Do you need one more round?
yeah, if you don't mind. Although I don't have the exact wording, but this is in regards to obviously my position and the transition to a new chief executive officer, which is proposed to be Julie Schoharie. So if you take a second to read, the first page of the resolution is standard. Yeah, boilerplate is a better word for it. So the second page gets in to what it is. It's section 1. The agency hereby takes the following action: approves and confirms the appointment of Julianne K. Schoharie to the position of CEO of the agency. Section 2, the agency hereby authorizes the chairman to take all steps necessary to carry out the purpose of this resolution. And section 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. The resolution would take effect immediately. The positions for January 1st. The details to be ironed out separately by Chad and whoever else he wants on that committee, and working with Julie, etc.
Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, this calls for a roll call vote. Chester Burton, I vote yes. Joe Schoharie,
Yes.
Wanda King,
Yes.
Peter Johnson,
Yes.
and Ben is
Ben's excused.
abstention. Motion is approved.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Julie.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited. Very excited to hit the ground running in January and to follow Ron's lead. I hope Ron's still available to us to rein me in where needed. And, yeah, exactly. So I'm really pleased.
Yes,
Been a process.
And I'm certainly pleased. It's been quite some time with advertising and details and working out the MOUs with the county, etc. But here we are, and it's a good thing. And Julie will do just an excellent job. So.
I think we should thank Ron.
Oh, yes.
Right? For
Without
all
a
of
doubt.
his services.
Yes.
How many years has it been,
How many years
Yeah.
before my
I think it
time?
was 1999.
99.
When your
My
dad,
goodness.
your dad, I took your dad's spot when you,
Oh, you were like in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
80s.
But as far as the idea goes, it was after Adele contract sort of, she bowed out and I took over, so it's 90, yeah.
Hey, wow.
It's changed since then,
A long
changed quite a
time.
bit.
Yeah, there haven't been that many people in the job then.
No, I was rolling Adele.
Yes, I remember. I remember
me.
both
The
of them.
tag team there.
That's
And
amazing.
Julie's, yeah, will be the only fourth one since 1972.
I was gonna say
Wow.
72. Wow. Wow.
So you'll be
and
20
board
years.
too has been pretty consistent.
Yes,
As
yeah.
well.
I'm the
Yeah,
newbie.
it's just
You're
until
the newbie.
recently where we've had a couple new, you know, Peter and then
Ben
Matt.
and Peter are the new ones.
Right.
Newer
Yeah.
ones, yeah. Because Tom was here forever, right?
Yes.
I think he was original.
He was, he
Yeah.
was.
72?
Tom?
Good name.
All right,
All right, I will sign this.
Yes, and
Okay.
I'll seal it here.
is there any other new, old business?
No, I mean, no.
Well, there is the business of Sharon Springs Inc. not meeting their deadline. But that's,
Yeah.
is that an issue for January, I imagine?
The
That's
first,
not to Julie.
Glad I'm here.
I think that's what Julia meant if I was gonna be around.
No, but we haven't heard any, I haven't
We have-
seen
no,
anything.
No, correct, we have not heard
Anything
anything.
going on up there?
Nothing- nothing
It's
I've
quiet.
seen.
Anybody in there working at all?
Not, I haven't seen anything.
You know, we'll have an annual meeting, or, you know, the board will have an annual meeting with Julie, and, you know, I'll plan on attending, but either January meeting, or certainly by February, so the first 2 months of the year, we'll have to address them, the SSI project. But as far as any action goes, I don't know any action, at least, I mean, external side, I mean, maybe they've done something in-house, but I'm not privy to anything.
Any word from, is it John? John, the representative was here that
You know,
time?
alls I've heard from, it was a month or two ago. And at that time, he did seem active behind the scenes with financing and getting permits and whatnot. Whatever happened from that, he's not informed me. But it'd be somebody I'll get a hold of and see where he stands. And then whether I meet with him, with Julie or whatever. Like I say, I don't know about the holiday season, but certainly January or before the February meeting.
Seems like
It'll have to
something
be
would have
further
happened.
discussed.
Seems like something would have happened by now.
I mean, the pilot payments go back to the original agreement
January.
in this January 1st with the county and town, obviously. So they will be billed for them. The timeframe was the 2-year timeframe where that was reduced for giving them time to complete is over. So it
Is that
jumps,
December
yeah,
31st?
so it jumps back up to where it was going to be. So there will be responses and discussions from that. And we'll, you know, I'll talk to Joe Scott before that as well. I guess that's the short of it.
We certainly tried. Everybody's tried.
It's only 14 years, I don't know what they've been up to easily.
Give him some more. It's a long time.
Any further old business? Any new business?
No. I do have, we'll wait for, well, Julie, you want to do another new business, you want to do another, do you have, I think,
Either one.
we can do a new business, if you don't mind that.
Okay.
We have,
Okay.
if you okey-dokey.
I call to order the meeting of the Schoharie County Industrial Development Agency. The first item on the agenda is review and approve of November 14th, 2022 minutes.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. SCIDA committee meetings, nothing is available on that.
No.
right. And next item on the agenda is old business. The land sales, property sales, we'll hold for executive session and move that to other. If I hear no objection to that. The next item on the agenda is the SCIDA administration and hiring of CEO. Ron, what do you have on that?
Well, currently, I've asked Joe Scott to prepare a resolution, and he did. So I'd like to pass that out. I guess. I think that's it.
I can share with Peter. Do you need one more round?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Although I don't have the exact word, but this is in regards to obviously my position and the transition to a new chief executive officer, which is proposed to be Julie Paquetti. So if you take a second to read, the first page of the resolution is standard, yeah, boilerplate is a better word for it. So the second page gets in to what it is. It's section 1. The agency hereby takes the following action: approves and confirms the appointment of Julianne K. Paquetti to the position of CEO of the agency. Section 2, the agency hereby authorizes the chairman to take all steps necessary to carry out the purpose of this resolution. And section 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. The resolution would take effect immediately, the positions for January 1st. The details to be ironed out separately by Chad and whoever else he wants on that committee, and working with Julie, etc.
Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, this calls for a roll call vote. Chester Burton, I vote yes. Joe Schoharie,
Yes.
Wanda King,
Yes.
Peter Johnson,
Yes.
and Ben is
Ben's excused.
abstention. Motion is approved.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Julie.
Yes,
Thank you. I'm very excited. Very excited to hit the ground running in January and to follow Ron's lead. I hope Ron's still available to us to rein me in where needed. And,
Windsor.
yeah, exactly. So I'm really pleased.
Yes,
Been a process.
and I'm certainly pleased. It's been quite some time with advertising and
Yes.
details and working out the MOUs with the county, etc. But here we are, and it's a good thing, and Julie will do just an excellent job. So
I think we should thank Ron.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Without
All
a doubt.
his services.
Yes.
How many years has it been,
How
Ron?
many years
Yeah.
before my
I think
time?
it was 1999.
99.
When your
My
dad-
goodness.
Your dad, I took your dad's spot when you,
Oh, you were like in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
80s.
But as far as the idea goes, it was after Adele contract sort of, she bowed out and I took over, so it's 90, yeah.
90, wow.
It's changed since then,
A long
changed quite a
time.
bit.
There haven't been that many people in the job then.
No, I was rolling Adele.
Yes, I remember.
I
I mean-
both the tag team there.
That's
And
amazing.
Julie's, yeah, will be the only fourth one since 1972.
I was gonna say
Wow.
72. Wow. Wow.
So you'll be
and
20
board
years.
too has been pretty consistent.
Yes,
As
yeah.
well.
I'm the
Yeah,
newbie.
it's just
You're
until
the newbie.
recently where we've had a couple of new, you know, Peter and then
Ben
Ben.
and Peter are the new ones.
Right.
You were
Yeah.
once, yeah. Because Tom was here forever, right?
Yes.
I think he was original.
He was, he
Yeah.
was.
72?
Tom?
Good deal.
All right,
All right, I will sign this.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'll seal it here.
is there any other new, old business?
No, I mean, no.
Well, there is the business of Sharon Springs Inc. not meeting their deadline. But that's,
Yeah.
is that an issue for January, I imagine?
Sure. The
That's on
first,
to Julie.
Glad I'm here.
I think that's what Julie meant if I was gonna be around.
No, but we haven't heard any, I haven't
We have
seen
no-
anything.
No, correct, we have not heard
Anything going on up there?
Nothing- nothing I've
It's quiet.
seen.
Anybody in there working at all?
Not, I haven't seen anything.
You know, we'll have an annual meeting, or, you know, the board will have an annual meeting with Julie, and, you know, I'll plan on attending, but either a January meeting, or certainly by February, so the first 2 months of the year, we'll have to address them, the SSI project. But as far as any action goes, I don't know any action, at least, I mean, external side, I mean, maybe they've done something in-house, but I'm not privy to anything.
Any word from, is it John? John, the representative was here that time?
Alls I've heard from, it was a month or two ago. And at that time, he did seem active behind the scenes with financing and getting permits and whatnot. Whatever happened from that, he's not informed me. But it'd be somebody I'll get a hold of and I'll see where he stands. And then whether I meet with him, with Julie or whatever. Like I say, I don't know about the holiday season, but certainly January or before the February meeting.
Seems like
It'll have to
something
be
would
further
happened.
discussed.
Seems like something would have happened by now.
I mean, the pilot payments go back to the original agreement
January.
in this January 1st with the county and town, obviously. So they will be billed for them. The timeframe was the 2-year timeframe where that was reduced for giving them time to complete is over. So it
Is that
jumps-
December
yeah,
31st?
So it jumps back up to where it was going to be. So there will be responses and discussions from that. And we'll, you know, I'll talk to Joe Scott before that as well. I guess that's the short of it.
We certainly tried. Everybody's tried.
It's only 14 years, I don't know how they got up so easily.
Give them some more. It's a long time.
Any further old business? Any new business?
No. I do have, we'll wait for, well, Julie, you want to do another new business, you want to do another day, I think
Either one.
we can do a new business, if you don't mind, Jeff.
Okay.
We have a scenario, I guess, also in Sharon Springs Village. And Julie's been working on it quite a bit, and I've been working on it somewhat with her. And it has to do with the Adler Hotel. And a developer, I'll let Julie explain it, but the lead in is a developer has been interested in it. It's got various owners involved. I guess I'll just let Julie take over.
Right, Ron and I have been lockstep, I think, in this discussion since they were out to visit the site in June. But it started before then. Back in April, SCIDA worked with the Mohawk Valley Economic Development District, the region, our peers throughout the 6 counties, and we took the Adler to a real estate investment forum. At that forum, we drew the attention of a group out of New York City, Pennsylvania, $5 billion affordable housing developer called Penrose. We have been dancing with Penrose since that time. The regional vice president and the president of the organization toured Sharon Springs this summer. We have had a variety of conversations with them about the best approach to move forward. They have sent architects, structural engineers, and other folks out to the site to determine whether or not this site has potential for them to invest in to create an intergenerational campus, senior housing as well as family housing. They're eager to do that. They will seek funding through the New York State Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. And they've done a number of developments, not just in New York State, but along the Eastern Coast. With that, they've certainly been meeting with the village officials. Their Mayor Doug is very excited about the prospect of this development. Their financing application, however, takes time, and couple $100,000 for them to put together their application. In fact, I was talking to a different developer. They said that one of their applications was 4,000 pages to access the finance. Why you can appreciate this? Yes, 4,000 pages between all the reports and documentation that's required. So they will work on this application, but what they need us to do and what they've asked us to do is stabilize the property so that it no longer takes the weather and deteriorates. Ron and I have had few conversations with the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank. They are willing to step in and do some of the temporary measures to stabilize the building. Meanwhile, the Village of Sharon Springs submitted a letter of intent to apply for a Restore New York grant application for this particular property. They do have an application pending for Klinkart Hall currently. This is a second application in a second round of Restore New York. We submitted that letter of intent just a couple of weeks ago. The full application is due the end of January. We have pricing right now, between $380,000 to $2.1 million for stabilization.
Just to stabilize.
Just to stabilize.
To stabilize. The larger number was actually the structural engineering report, and that, according to the developer and the structural engineer, much of those measures can be picked up in the development side. So it doesn't have to be to that scale of stabilization. So somewhere between $380,000 and $2.1 million. The good news is the Restore New York grant does offer grants up to $2 million, and it only requires a 10% match. We believe, and that can be in kind and cash. So we're looking at the project somewhere in that range. We believe we have the match for it. I think RPC has stepped up with some match. The Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank has match available, and the current owner has done some work that could be eligible as a match. Adding in time and administrative in-kind costs, we think we can pull that match together. What we're looking for is a sponsor for the project in terms of completing this application by the end of January, a willingness to potentially put up the funds and wait for the grant dollars to be paid back. I was pleased to see that in your last meeting that you did talk about hospitality projects, housing projects. They are undertaken across the state pretty regularly by IDAs. I'm not sure if this board has an appetite to get involved in this type of project, but wanted to bring the project forward so that you're aware of it and have an opportunity to think about it and ask questions. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Ron?
No, I think you said it pretty well. The folks coming out here, they have serious intent. Obviously there's quite a bit of due diligence still has to be done for them. But they've kept with it. They haven't left us, which is very good news. And so the details have to be worked out. But they're here. The village is happy at this point still, I mean, so far, I should say. So there are some good things that are behind the scenes that are already built into it, which is nice as far as the base goes.
How much
Does
would,
this re-
go ahead.
Go ahead.
How much would the finished product cost?
28 million.
28
is their
million.
current estimate.
28.
Is it 28 or 38?
38.
38.
38.
38 million. Sorry, what's 10 million amongst friends?
That's my kind of math.
But is there a risk to, let's say, us? We have to come up with some money, all right, to get the property stabilized. And if they don't get the grant, that means that we're out this money.
Not exactly. So you wouldn't put up the money until you were sure you had a grant.
Okay.
Number one.
All right.
So we wouldn't undertake any of the activities until there were an award letter from the state in this program.
When do they expect to restore? I think that for Clean Heart, I think they're expecting something this month, at the end of this month.
Correct. So there was round one of Restore. They're anticipating award announcements this month. Round two is where this application would fall. The submission for the application isn't until the end of January. So the announcements would be probably end of first quarter, maybe second quarter of next year.
So nothing will be done to that property until then.
Actually, I think the land bank is willing to do some temporary
they're gonna do some
roofing
okay.
between now and then.
Okay.
And they undertake these kind of immediate measures pretty regularly in the properties they work with.
They got ARPA money for that from the county,
And they
right?
do have ARPA money that was allowed.
They have what money?
American Rescue Plan Act.
From the
money.
county.
From the county, correct.
So there's really no risk at this point for us, monetarily.
Correct. It would be, we're looking for a sponsor so that we can go to the village at their board meeting in the middle of January and submit the grant application at the end of the month.
Mhm.
So it's really time and energy is what's at risk.
What would be the possible amount of money that the IDA would finance, provide? Do you have any idea what that would be?
So it could be anywhere between $380,000 up to 2.1 million.
2.1 or 1.2?
2.1.
Okay.
And there has to be a letter of commitment to submit with the grant application, and then how those dollars flow is a different conversation. You could do, that's how you mitigate your risk down the line is, do you take a full loan? I don't know. Do you use your cash on hand? Maybe try to draw, and we figure out how to finance the project otherwise.
So, the 380,000 to 2.1 million. We're going to get a grant for that from Restore New York.
90% would be a grant. The other 10% would be a combination of in-kind services of the IDA to administer the grant, cash from Rural Preservation Corporation, the contribution from the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank, and contribution from the current owner, and some of the work that she has coordinated with, tank removals, some tree work, clearing.
So, as you indicated before, Joe, the risk to us, if we get the grant and everything, and all this falls in place, is no.
Monetarily, no.
Monetarily.
You're at risk while the project is happening because you're putting up the cash waiting for the grant to come back. So that's the risk, truly.
So we put up somewhere between 380 and 2.1.
Before we submit the application, we would work together to see what number is most comfortable.
But
If you were to be the sponsor.
But if it's a reimbursement grant, why do you say there's a risk? You said there's a risk while the project is going. I don't get that part of it.
Well, I just think in general, the cash that, Ron, do you want to speak to that?
Well, you would hope you minimize that, Joe, but I mean,
Right.
I guess there's always a risk, because if a project doesn't go to fruition, or if somebody at the state doesn't like something, if it's not an eligible expense, but you thought it was, I mean, these things can be, I don't say eliminated, but they can really be tackled as you go through it, but you never know, and so when you're outlaying money, it's just.
So in other words, the state might find fault with some aspect
Yeah,
of
you
the
know, they
project, and we would have to defend that, or somebody would have to defend that.
And you know, and the risk, right now, the building's in hands that, you know, there's certain deals that have to be made, or agreements between present owners and future sponsors or slash owners. And until that does, you know, those things will mitigate the risk.
Right.
But if they don't happen, well, you'll know about it if they don't happen, because you're a negotiator, but.
Would we
You
be
gotta
the only
take care of it.
sponsor?
At this point, could be, I think it would be the preference.
Okay.
What the preference is, I think it would give you more control if you were the only sponsor.
Ron, not to put you on the spot, but what would you recommend?
No?
I have to see more, I have to see the grant. I think it's worth pursuing. I think I have to see I'd have to see what the grant ramifications were after you spend the money. I mean, is there any clawback provisions, or if there's anything at the end of that grant process that would make the IDA liable for something? I mean, they've done these across the state, so I don't know if that's a problem. I would just want to see it in writing
Right.
before something gets signed, to make sure we're comfortable with it.
Right.
And there would have to be a project manager that would make sure that we comply with any requirements that the state has with respect to the construction, financing, permits and all of that.
Correct.
So there would be a project manager too.
Right.
Who would that?
Right now, we're looking at, well, me, but also Tolga with the Greater Mohawk Valley Land Bank. Again, this is the kind of work that they do.
So if we put the money up, like how many years down the road would we look to get that back, as long as everything went okay?
So, because it's stabilization, we'd move as swiftly as we could. I think we'd make sure the project manager is on the same schedule. Conceivably, it would be 1 year, depends at what level you take that grant at. If we push it to the $1.9 million, it's probably a 2-year project. If it's something more towards that 400,000 or 500,000 range, I think that's probably 1 year. Is that fair?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get 400,000 or 500,000 done, I think, even with bidding and,
Right.
outsourcing. But for closer to 2 million, it would probably take
Right.
more engineering work and more specs and more bidding and more work, physical work. So yeah, it
Right.
would probably extend certainly a year and a half minimally.
Right, I think it would be
And
2
probably
for the
closer
high
to,
end. And that also lines up really well with Penrose taking title, because they're getting through their application process. In order for them to move towards their application, they want to see this stabilization starting to take shape. They're looking for that by this summer, that there's some movement on that front, so that they can submit their application by the fall of 2023. They're 8 months, 12 months ahead in terms of their project scoping.
38 million. Wow.
It's pretty significant. People too, when we spoke to Mayor Doug, he's like, people and children can live in the village? He's like, this is exciting, this is amazing. So, right?
Yeah,
Very true.
So,
yeah. And have a place to live.
right,
So the IDA would be a critical component of this.
yes, it could be the IDA or the CRC. I
CRC.
think could consider either or. Yes, being a project sponsor to advance this type of development is really significant.
Are there issues like pilots or the sales tax exemptions? Is this premature to talk about that, or is
That's a great point. The pilot most certainly is something that Penrose will be looking for during their project scoping and development.
Mhm.
The sales tax exemption, that's a great point. That's something that could be looked at conceivably on this front end. You can separate those benefits. So that's something we've not talked about, but it's something potentially that might be a savings
It is a big savings.
on this
Could be.
early part of the stabilization.
Your recommendation, Julie?
I think what I'd like to do is share more information with you, the letter of intent, so you see that. You have some time to sit with the notion, to see the different costs. Potentially, don't know how you generally would look to move forward, but just an opportunity to really look at the project and spend more time thinking through some of the concerns or issues, timelines, whatever it might be. I would say yes, we certainly would love to have a sponsor for this application to move forward.
And that would need to be done by the end of January of next year? Or
The
2023.
application be submitted by the end of January, correct.
So we,
There is a public hearing in the middle of January at the village board meeting, which I think is the 15th or 19th.
It's the third Thursday.
Third Thursday.
You probably want to get information
The
disseminated.
19th.
And so everybody, all this board could see it. And then timing wise, we had tentatively scheduled a meeting for January 11th. I mean, I certainly would aim for that. I mean, to put the application in 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you'd want to know by that date, at the latest probably. Because you may not, I mean, if it's going forward, you'd have to know the dollar amount, so you'd have to know.
Right.
Just basically.
Right, no, that
If you didn't do it, you'd want to know too, so there's a backup plan for the village or the application or whatever.
Right, January 11th would be ideal to regroup. I'll disseminate the information as soon as possible. January 11th, if this board meets again, there's an opportunity to revisit the project and the sponsorship. And then we would be able to present at the village board on January 19th. In that case, the application is due, I think it's the 27th, which is that Friday.
So there'll be a meeting January 11th of this board. Oh, that's already down here. How about that?
I remotely sent that to your calendar.
God bless you.
Telepathically.
Any further discussion on the Adler?
Sounds exciting.
Look forward to more
$38 million.
information. Anything else under new business? Other.
Other is, I have Jeff Haslam, our CFO, his resignation effective December 31st.
Oh,
As well as mine, but you know mine anyway. But so anyway, you're Ron and the IDA, this is from Jeff. I'm submitting my resignation as CFO effective January 1st. I've enjoyed working with the various Schoharie County IDA board members over the years. Actually, I think you just seek, you'd have to, I mean, it's not, well, if you made it a Julie type, I mean, if you made it a boss type, not boss, but a full-fledged job, as in, here's a salary of 50, 60, whatever, yeah, you would probably advertise. In this case, it's more, it's almost, it's not a board member, but it's sort of an extension. And a CFO, so, you know, somebody that makes under, it's a couple grand a year. I don't, and you don't have to advertise.
Okay.
I think what you do is probably, unless all the board members plus Julie or even myself, if we came up with some names. You could get,
Just asking.
Any come to mind?
Ron Filmer comes to mind.
Never gonna get away, Ryan.
That's good.
I'm trying not to look at you.
That's really brilliant. That's
It's something that could be discussed.
Why
I don't know,
not?
look at me, man.
So you're supposed to be out, helping me out here.
Retiring, sorry, Ron.
So, you know, it's something that you have to think about in January. Jeff's letter's still hot off the press.
How much time would it require for us?
Well, Jeff took it, well, it's as much as the person really wants to put in. I mean, you could really delve into the financial reports and what, you know, et cetera. Jeff obviously had an advantage being a CPA. You know, he read the reports and understood them, you know, with ease. You know, he'd sign checks, he'd come in every so often, you know, you do have to swear to the accuracy of the financial statements at year end. And he attended all the board meetings. So I don't think it's a lot of time. You could expand that if you wish, but you know, obviously it creates more of a position the more you expand it.
Yeah.
And so it's not too bad. I mean, the way Jeff was doing the duties.
Do we need any more than what he did?
It's really up to everybody here. I mean, there's certainly a value if you have somebody that do the finances to work, you know, even with that project, analyzing the Adler. You know, it comes and goes. It helps a little bit with pilots, I suppose. Just as a you know, person that Julie can run things through, or you know, by. It's like, what do you think of these numbers? Are we on the same page? You know, am I reading it right, or you know, whatever. So it's just a sounding board. You know, I don't know. It just depends on where you want to go with it.
Would your role at RPC conflict with doing this as well?
Not on the surface. I mean, if it's a joint project somewhere down the line, you'd have to, you know, excuse yourself. But I don't think that's really a deal. I mean, because the RPC is a private nonprofit, so we're not in a municipality a role. So that sort of that helps in this. That helps when you deal with the quasi municipality IDA.
Okay. Well, would you consider doing this at least on an interim basis to last not longer than 23 years?
Short term.
Time is relative.
Actually,
Not less than 10, and it's something like that.
I mean, I would think about it. I really.
Would fit well.
You have a financial background yourself.
He's on the board.
I know. So do you. What are you talking about? What's that CPA title for?
No, I don't have a secret.
Oh, that's right. You're a tax
No.
accountant. But you're close enough. Anyway, yeah. I'll think about it, Peter. But thank you.
There are other CPAs around that would probably be interested. Isn't Lynn? She's a CPA, would that be, she does the books for us, right?
Yeah, she does do the book for us. I don't know if the relationship there would make it a conflict or not. I don't know if it could be one of the things. I'd have to look into it further.
Who does the book for us?
Lynn Lawyer.
Lynn Lawyer.
Okay.
Who took Jeff's place down here?
Treader.
Who did?
Treader, Mr.
I
Treader.
can't think of his first name.
Chris.
Chris, yes.
Chris, yeah.
There are others. Well, think about it, Ron. You got other things you could do.
I don't have a CPA, but
You have an MBA.
yeah,
You have
three,
that?
yeah, I got 3 initials.
All right, any other business under other. All right, I guess we'll move into executive session then.
That's it, this should only take 5 or 10 minutes if you want to hang.
All right, so we've come out of executive session at 10:50.
Correct.
All right, and we have
A resolution before us.
Yep.
So I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
All right,
this is gonna be a roll call vote. Chester Burton, yes. Joseph Prani,
Yes.
Wanda King,
Yes.
Peter Johnson.
yes,
Ben is
excused.
excused. Resolution is approved. We have our next meeting is going to be, is it January?
January
11th?
11th,
January
yep.
11th.
Yep. According to
9:30?
Joe's calendar
Yeah,
on
according
his
to the-
on his iPhone.
And this never lies.
I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second,
Yeah, a second.
All right.
motion approved. See you on January 11th.